Hello, I'm HG Tudor. And whilst you lucky people are waiting the for me to provide you with the next video where I narrate Thomas Tom Bauer's Buck, Revenge, providing you with my unrivaled analysis of what's actually going on, I'm going to give you a little bit of a treat now and provide you with a live reading as I continue to wade through the utter dross that is Finding Dollars Funding Freedom, written by Improbably Named, and of course the utterly embarrassed and has ensured that she has basically removed herself from the face of the earth. I'm not even going to mention her name because she's in a witness protection scheme to keep her hidden from ever being exposed to the embarrassment of having anything to do with this particular publication. Those of you that mildly care will recall that we were being treated to the self-praise. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it was more the onanism of the wedding. And Elton John was about to launch in. And of course, I'd posed the question as to what he was actually going to launch into, whether he was going to launch into his husband vigorously, thrusting like a pissed up ninja, whether he was going to launch into Harry's wife and say, "You're a fraud and I can see right through you," or whether he was perhaps going to launch into some songs. I think we all know is most likely going to be the latter. And so, to enable you to enjoy more of this utter nonsense, and of course, as you're going along, you can demonstrate your super thanks by making a donation to your glorious narrator's Dirts Fund by tickling that button at the bottom of the live chat. I'm going to continue narrating this for you. Understand that I've not read this ahead of time. I just read it as it goes along. There is no way I'm wasting my time reading this fucking thing twice. And I ad lib and provide the commentary vis-a-vis narcissism as we go through it. So in we go. I should warn you, if you've got liquids near you, move them to one side. Do not imbibe, do not slurp, do not ingest. Furthermore, you must ensure that you're not chewing on anything because you may well choke with laughter and mirth and delight. And of course, I'm not responsible for that. You've brought it on your own stupid fucking heads. Here we go. Then Sir Elton launched in. "My gift is my song, and this one's for you," he sang. After your song, he performed Circle of Life, The Lion King being one of Harry's favourite movies. Indeed, something whereby he would like to go to the premiere so that he could shamelessly attempt to get his wife signed up for a Disney contract. And I'm Still Standing, which also was one of Harry's favourites after he'd been rogered vigorously with the strap-on, which left guests, including Oprah, dabbing at their eyes, not realising that one of the chefs had inadvertently been cutting onions in the main ballroom. He also belted out Tiny Dancer, which caused Harry to unzip Harry's pants and get out his own Tiny Dancer. Fortunately, William was on hand to throw a serviette over little Harry to ensure that there was no further embarrassments. He also belted out Tiny Dancer in a nod to Harry's wife with the opening lyrics, "Blue Jean Baby, LA Lady." Well, of course, Harry's wife wanted it all about her and therefore would drink that in as positive fuel and, of course, character trait acquisition. It was the perfect performance for the boy he had watched grow into a man and the son of one of his closest friends. In fact, it was at that very same venue for Prince Andrew's 21st birthday that Elton had first met Diana in 1981. To support Harry in his mother's absence were Diana's two sisters, Lady Sarah McCorkdale and Lady Jane Fellows, her brother Charles Spencer, her old roommate and Harry's godmother Carolyn Bartholomew, and Julia Samuel. Prince George's godmother and the head of the charity Child Bereavement UK, for which William served as patron. The charity supported children and families who had lost a loved one and those caring for sick family members with terminal diagnoses. I wouldn't have worked that out from child bereavement. Thank you for explaining that to me, Improbably Named. Lady Jane had read from the Song of Solomon during the service to honour her late sister's memory. Buoyed by Diana's spirit, Harry and Harry's wife made their way to their temporary Windsor Castle accommodation for a bit of spicy poontang. Notice how Diana keeps getting mentioned, even though here we are some 25 years after her demise, and at the time of this wedding, some 21 years after her demise. That, of course, she is going to be in the memory of Harry and William. But of course, this publication shows no shame in utilizing, and as we know, Harry's wife is there for the Diana duplication. So they headed off to their temporary Windsor Castle accommodation for a bit of relaxation before prepping for the private evening reception. Harry planned to have a quick nap, or quite possibly a tactical wank, as mentioned earlier, but filled with so much energy as a consequence of the 2 ecstasy tablets that he'd wolfed down and excitement from the day, he couldn't keep still for a moment, gurning like a nutcase, dancing his tits off. During the 3-hour gap between receptions, Harry's wife changed looks, something, of course, that she was able to do as a consequence of being a narcissist chameleon. Indeed, the fact that she was a narcissist enabled her to change her look far more effectively than the actress that she claimed to be. The London salon owner, George Northwood, tied her strands into a higher, tighter chignon with curled face-framing tendrils. For the lower light of the evening, Daniel was after a slightly dreamer, sexier look. Ooh la la, adding darker shadows to Harry's wife's eyes by punching her twice. Her second dress, a high-neck silk crepe Stella McCartney design, was sultrier too. All of you listening are no doubt getting a hard-on or a wide-on listening to this sexy description of Harry's wife. It was time for Harry's wife to party. The role that she's taken on is very austere. It's very sort of serious. And I think there's a great weight that she's acquired through eating too many donuts. And she takes it very seriously, Stella told the BBC. It was the last moment that she could reflect, sort of, the other side to her. For an item that covered both borrowed and blue, Harry loaned Harry's wife his late mother's emerald-cut aquamarine and 24-carat yellow gold asprey ring. Good luck getting that back, Harry. She steals shoes. She'll clearly be after the family jewels, including yours, which she now carries in a purse. I just want to get on with this and get going, Harry's wife said to Daniel, who dabbed a touch of organic oil onto her skin, handed her a stack of blotting papers and lipstick, and sent her off to the 1968 silver blue Jaguar E-Type Concept Zero that a tuxedoed Harry navigated down the long path, absolutely pissed up and molly to the eyeballs, to their reception at Frogmore House. 200 friends and family who had received their hand-drawn invitations for the evening reception arrived at Frogmore House close to 7 p.m. in double-decker buses. Indeed, Harry's wife has ensured that everybody had to pay for their tickets, thus mirching another opportunity. This included some chose to take their own transportation, including Doria, who napped in the back of a Range Rover. Lazy fucker. Harry's cousins, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, skipped the more pedestrian rides in favor of a black Bentley. George and Amal Clooney turned up in a space shuttle. Notably absent were Skippy, Harry's old friend, who had questioned the prince's relationship with Harry's wife, and his wife Lara. They were invited to the wedding ceremony and lunchtime reception, but didn't make the cut for the evening bash. Of course, this has been done as an assertion of control by Harry's wife, as I've explained in parts passing of the Tom Bower story, whereby Skippy, not finding favour, seeing through Harry's wife's unpleasant ways, of course, is then excluded as a consequence of the fact that he poses a threat to Harry's wife's control over the intimate partner primary source that is Harry, and therefore he's excluded from the nighttime bash. Along his wife also. At a brunch the day after the wedding, Skippy told friends, Harry's wife is a total cunt. If it was down to me, I would have got a cheese grater and rubbed it on her fucking head. I'm sick and tired of her carrying around our mate's pink pods and emasculating him, turning him into a Brillo pad-haired, namby-pamby shadow of himself It's utter bollocks, and I rue the day that she came along. Or, alternatively, that's what he probably would have said, but it's reported that he said Harry's wife had changed Harry too much, which, of course, is the improbably name's diluted version of the rant that I've just given that was probably far more accurate. His Eton pal said the prince was awed by the likes of titties and spicy poontang, alongside Clooney's and Oprah. We've lost him, Skippy concluded entirely accurately. Many of Harry's old friends said that the evening guest list was the prince and his bride's way of saying, "Fuck you! You interfere with my control of my husband, and you can get fucked. You are not here to tell me what to do." Or, as improbably named described it, these are the people we want in our lives moving forward. And again, this shows the absence of emotional empathy on the part of Harry's wife, that Harry has these friends, these support networks, but they don't accord with her worldview, and of course, their threats to control. So, with the absence of emotional empathy, she strips those friends from Harry without due regard for how it impacts upon him, how it makes him feel. Of course, she rather pours that poison in his ear by saying, "You don't need them, Harry. They're boorish, crass, they're dinosaurs. You need to hang with the woke crowd. What you need to do is ensure that on a daily basis I unscrew your pink pods and then flatten them into pancakes. I will then keep them in my purse as a reminder of the fact that you belong to me, that you are just a little boy and I'm pretending to be your mother, but I'll also ensure that I'll drain your pods every once in a while if you're a good boy." She shows no boundary recognition by stripping him of his friends, no emotional empathy, a sense of entitlement, and no accountability for those behaviors. After switching off their cell phones, the bride and groom had made it clear that this part of the celebration was to be resolutely private, assertion of control. The guests at the evening party were all told to strip down and remove their underwear. They were then invited to either roll in caramel, melted chocolate, or melted fudge, and then to crawl across the floor towards paddling pools filled with a variety of jelly tots, hundreds and thousands, various sprinkles, and other assorted candy goodies, turning them into the equivalent of human lollipops. What sordid activity was this taking place at Frogmore House? The guests then spilled out from two white marquees onto the wide expanse of lawn that had served as the backdrop for Harry and Harry's wife's engagement photos months earlier. They too had made their own midday wardrobe swaps. Serena Williams, previously in head-to-toe pink Versace, now wore a tennis outfit, so everybody knew who she was. Harry's wife's close friend, Priyanka Chopra, traded her lavender Vivienne Westwood suit and coordinating fascinator for wearing a tube of aluminium, or aluminum for our transatlantic cousins, foil. Famously not fond of stiff affairs, but famously fond of having a stiffy, Harry had fantasized of a celebration to rival the heady nights of his youth. He had fantasized that there would be dancing girls, that he would be eating caviar out of the bottom of high-class prostitutes, that he would be dancing until the peacocks ran away in shame, running around showing everybody little Harry and the pink pods. And that wasn't a band, by the way. He dreamt of when he and his pals would down the signature champagne-topped treasure chest cocktails at the tiki-themed nightclub Mahiki, or spend long evenings dancing at Bonkers Night Spot. And through the Frogmore House setting, a stately 336 to 340-year-old home, once inhabited by George III, was undeniably staid, the reception itself was anything but. It was techno heaven with banging tunes, a bacchanalian feast of excess. At precisely 7:30 p.m., the group, in their black tie finery and caramel-covered sprinkles, was ushered into the custom-built marquee erected in front of the 17th century mansion, finding their spots at one of the 20 tables named for various foods, with different British and American pronunciations, such as hot dog or hot dog. While one group of pals set down their cocktail glasses at a table labeled with tomato, others were assigned to basil or oregano or oregano, potato or potato, or arugula, or I wouldn't know what the equivalent of that is. I'm sure somebody will write it in the comments, which won't help at all because it's written. In describing the event to Vanity Fair, the True Blood actress and close friend Janina Gavanka said, "I hadn't a fucking clue what was going on. I thought I'd been snorting some Charlie, but some twat substituted ketamine for it, and I was completely nodded off in the bogs. When I woke up later, I was stripped naked and had Boris Johnson drooling over me." Despite the large number of guests at the evening reception, the dinner was a truly intimate affair, especially when compared to the pomp and circumstance of the afternoon witnessed by millions. The ceremony was just incredible to be a part of, and such an honor to even witness. But then in the evening, you really felt that you were at your friend's wedding. It was a small, safe group, completely controlled by Harry's wife. Many of us know each other or have gotten acquainted over the last year and a half. It was just different, said a close friend and guest called Harry's wife. It felt just like them. You could see every single thing that they had lovingly selected. We girls were going, "Oh, that's so Meg," said Harry's wife. However, the locally sourced organic menu, prepared by the Michelin-starred chef, Claire Smith, who herself quickly struck up a friendship with Harry's wife, or at least was told by Harry's wife that they were now friends, and featuring such dishes as sage and onion roast chicken, aged for 64 days, not 65, but 64 days at Devon's Creedy Carver Farm. That was Prince Charles doing, the utter scoundrel. As waiters circulated the first of three courses, William started his speech. Recalling the embarrassment reenactment Harry did of the gushy phone conversations between Kate and him while they were dating, he vowed that revenge would be sweet now that he was his brother's best man. To ensure his little brother's embarrassment, William handed the microphone off to God's gift Charlesworth, the prince's nickname for their boarding school chum Charlie van Strobensee. Charlie von Strobensee? An investment management firm executive and long-term member of Harry's inner circle of friends, Charlie chose the elegant occasion to bring up old boarding school memories, which will not have pleased Harry's wife because they were nothing to do with him. "All I wanted was a cuddle from my money," von Strobensee said as he reported in the UK newspaper The Times of first meeting Harry at Berkshire's Ludgrove School, where the royal had been assigned the role of dormitory monitor. And there we're going to leave matters as we learn more about the speeches that were said about Prince Harry to find out, is it the case that they are going to laud him or take the piss? How did he react? And of course, how is this all making Harry's wife feel? Join me in a scheduled video of this utter dross that we're wading through, where I will continue with chapter 15, part 3. In the meantime, thank you to Lilith of Daydream for her contribution to the Dirts Fund. Most appreciated. The rest of you, you mean fuckers. This throat doesn't wet itself, you know. On that, I'm away to go and engage in some skullduggery. And consequently, I'm going to allow you to debate tomato or tomato to your heart's content. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.